we look to next year. Do you see these teams running it back?
Yes. The Eagles, absolutely. I think their division's going to be tough next year with the Giants, but I think the Eagles are going to rise to the challenge. I loved everything about their demeanor after the game. I loved how Jalen Hurts was like, you can either sit in your feelings or you can sit back, learn about it. And I feel like he had a great press conference after the game. He was very nice, I feel like, to fans and interacting with the media. I loved everything about Jalen Hurts' character. I looked at him. He's calm, quiet. He's a silent killer. He's definitely going to be back there. And I feel like we have to put Jalen Hurts in the upper echelon of elite QBs now, where Jalen Hurts was right there in the MVP discussion with Patrick Mahomes.
Just
And
two.
some of Philadelphia in this game had no run game. The best running back for Philadelphia in this game was Boston Scott. Boston Scott was the best running back for the Eagles besides Jalen Hurts. That's a problem. So I feel like next year, focus on going out and getting a running back. You have Devontae Smith, who you're probably going to have to extend soon, but you at least have another year with him. You already paid AJ Brown. You're going to have Dallas Goedert there. My only worry is Jason Kelsey retiring, and what that would mean for your offensive line. But overall, I feel like this team wants to run it back. Nick Sirianni believes in his players, and he has built a system, and he's been able to attract free agents. And just from management, coaching, quarterback, offensive line, all the pieces of there, they're absolutely going to run it back next year. AJ Brown's not going anywhere. Devontae Smith is still going to be there. And talk about a player who has been very underrated this season, Devontae Smith. Time to give
Absolutely.
that guy his flowers. Like, down the sideline, making some ridiculous catches, has had some of the most controversial catches, but overall, I thought he's been a stud, and he's definitely a number 2 wide receiver.
For sure. He's a really solid number 2. I think the Eagles will absolutely make it back. And I think Jalen Hurts submitted himself as a top 5 quarterback. Can't take it away. I don't want to see people put Lamar Jackson over Jalen Hurts. Not a disrespect to Lamar Jackson by any means.
Yeah.
But the way Jalen Hurts played in this game, numbers wise, eye test wise, went head to head with Patty Mahomes. Numbers wise, had better stats than him, was running the ball, taking care of business. And I think he's got to be right there at number 5. He's got to be in the top 5 conversation. And I really like the way that they held themselves together after honestly what would be a crushing loss for any team, especially with the call being controversial, whether it should be called, whether it should not be called. But the way they held their heads high, the way they're like, you know what, we're not gonna stew in this loss. We're gonna go right back there. I think that builds for a team built on toughness and a team that, because they have their star guy, they should be contending for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and for this team, I feel like toughness was the mantra of Nick Sirianni, and just how Jalen Hurts handled the loss should give you a lot of hope. And I feel like he's going to be even better next year with how much he improved. And then you have all of that talent with AJ Brown. And then I feel like they just need a more consistent running back than Miles Sanders. But for me, I don't think the Eagles lost this game by any stretch. I think they just ran out of time. It's the famous Michael Jordan quote, "I've never lost a game. I've just run out of time." And it's like, if we let both of these teams play for another 40 minutes, it probably would have still been tied, and they would have been marching the ball up and down the field. So it's like, it's unfortunate for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially when you have all that talent on defense and couldn't get any pressure on Mahomes. But you didn't lose that game. You have nothing to be ashamed about. You just went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Some people would argue Jalen Hurts looked like the better player in that game when you had one of their touchdowns was defense, and it was a punt return, and Jalen Hurts was the one moving the ball up and down the field. He has command of the offense. He was able to read the defense very well in this game. It's like, he has nothing to be ashamed of. Neither do the Eagles. Like, if anything, it's like, hey, we're a field goal away. Come back next year. All it takes is one play, and we're there.
And if I look at the NFC East, we have the Giants. They don't know what they're going to do with Daniel Jones. You have the Commanders, who are basically in a rebuild. They're going to start Sam Howell, who I do think will be pretty good, but we'll see how he is. We haven't seen enough tape from him. And then we have the Cowboys, who every year it's the same thing with the Cowboys, where it's like they have Dak Prescott, who we've heard rumblings that it's like, oh, maybe they draft a quarterback. We don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. And even if the Cowboys are back, they're going to lose some players on defense, and they're still going to be that team that's a regular season performer. So honestly, the only team that I really have faith in that division is the Eagles. And then you go to the other divisions. It's like NFC North, outside of the Lions and the Vikings. It's like Packers. We don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. We'll get to him in a minute. And then we got the Bears. They're rebuilding. NFC South. That whole division's a disaster. Then in the NFC West, we have the 49ers. The Rams fell apart.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, they're a disaster. The Seahawks, they're a good story, but they're not real contenders with the Eagles. So it's like
You forgot